George Beard and Harold Hutchins are best friends. They love to draw comics and play pranks. One day they accidentally hypnotize their grumpy principal, Mr. Krupp. "You are now Captain Underpants," Harold shouted, snapping his fingers. Suddenly, Mr. Krupp transformed into Captain Underpants, a superhero, wearing only underwear and a red cape. Captain Underpants is super strong and can leap tall buildings in a single bound. He's also very silly and loves to make people laugh. One sunny afternoon, a strange villain appeared in the schoolyard. He wore a purple suit and had a mischievous grin. This was the Collector, and he had the power to shrink, grow, and swing objects with his special gloves. "I am the Collector," he announced, his voice booming, "and I shall add your school to my collection." The Collector pointed his gloves at the school building. A beam of energy shot out, encasing the school in a shimmering bubble. The students and teachers watched in horror as the school began to shrink. It became smaller and smaller until it was the size of a basketball. The Collector chuckled, pleased with himself, and placed the tiny school in his pocket. Inside the shrunken school, everyone panicked. "We're trapped!" cried a student. George and Harold knew they had to do something. They had to get help from Captain Underpants. George and Harold found Mr. Krupp, who was napping under his desk, as usual. "Mr. Krupp! Mr. Krupp! We need Captain Underpants!" shouted George. They snapped their fingers and shouted, "Captain Underpants!" Instantly, Mr. Krupp transformed into the goofy superhero. Tra-la-la! Who needs the help of the amazing Captain Underpants? "The Collector has shrunk the school," Harold explained, showing Captain Underpants the tiny building in the Collector's pocket. Captain Underpants scratched his head. "Well, that's not good. We need a plan so silly, so ridiculous, it just might work." Section 5. "The gigantic battle begins," Captain Underpants pointed at the Collector. "Stop right there, you meanie," he shouted. "It's time to face the wrath of Captain Underpants," the Collector laughed. "You are no match for me, you silly underwear-wearing fool." Captain Underpants leaped into action. He threw a giant toilet paper roll at the Collector, but he simply swatted it away with his glove. The Collector then used his size-changing powers to grow into a giant. Section 6. Shrinking, swinging, and soaring through the air. The Collector towered over the town, his laughter echoing through the streets. Captain Underpants knew he had to think fast. He grabbed a nearby lamppost and used it like a baseball bat, hitting a passing car towards the Collector. The Collector, caught off guard, shrunk the car to the size of a toy. It bounced harmlessly off his chest. Realizing he couldn't outmuscle the Collector, Captain Underpants decided to use his speed and agility. Section 7. The power of laughter saves the day. Captain Underpants began doing silly dances and making funny faces. The Collector, confused, stopped to watch. Soon he couldn't help but chuckle at the ridiculous sight. Captain Underpants' silliness was contagious. As the Collector laughed, the grip on his powers weakened. The shrunken school slipped from his pocket and grew back to its normal size. The students and teachers cheered as they were released from their miniature prison. Section 8. The Collector learns a valuable lesson. Captain Underpants landed triumphantly in front of the Collector. "Remember the Collector," he said. "A little laughter can go a long way." The Collector, humbled and defeated, realized that happiness and sharing were more important than collecting things. He returned everything he had shrunk and promised to use his powers for good. Section 9. Captain Underpants, always ready for action. With the Collector defeated and the school back to normal, Captain Underpants struck a heroic pose. "Tra-la-la! Justice is served!" he exclaimed. George and Harold knew that no matter what wacky adventures came their way, Captain Underpants would always be there to save the day, one silly stunt at a time. And so, the legend of Captain Underpants continued, reminding everyone that even the silliest among us can be heroes.